So for my lesson, I wanted to play around with a couple of the options that we have within Canvas. One thing that our school was lacking was a built-in infrastructure within the modules. We had lessons, videos, content that was linked outside. So that is what you see in the first part of the module. There's hyperlinks to get to the content outside using a different platform. And what I wanted to do was work on maybe in the bottom half of the module, keeping everything within Canvas, creating pages for specific content, for practices, for resources, instead of linking out. So the way that I used that was maybe by embedding a Padlet or a video, whereas originally it might have taken you to a different website with a link. So that was sort of part of the first part of the project. And then the second was to build in self-checks and reflections within the module, and then to allow students to collaborate within the module. So those were sort of my jumping off points. That is what I wanted to achieve. I just played around and I added a prerequisite so that they had to complete the previous module in order to open this one. And then my part that I have edited within the lesson is the second part of our module. So I started with a basic video of an artist, an architect, and this video is a lesson on a famous architect, and that covers one of the standards that we have to cover in the Spanish language courses, which is the contribution of a native Spaniard to the culture of the language. So this was how I met that first goal and the first standard. So instead of linking out somewhere else, I created the resource right within. After that video, I moved students onto the next page, which was a self-check quiz. So in order for that, in order for the students to feel comfortable and confident moving on, I wanted them to score 100% on just a quick self-check quiz. Here are our options. It's just a 3-question quiz. And a self-check reflection. Okay. After that was completed, we'll go back to the module. So that was the self-check quiz. And then I wanted students to work on a project. The information that I had, and I played around with the due date, but I am going to end up changing that information. So I wanted them to collaborate on one page together. We're going to use what we learned from the resources in this page to teach each other about the most interesting things about the famous architect. So try to find a new link to share with the class and add it to this Padlet. So I made this page editable by students, and I embedded a Padlet right here with the most important resources that I wanted the students to see. And then I'm allowing them to add in additional resources if they find anything interesting. And here is the project page that they're working on. So students can edit, and I wanted them to collaborate. And some instructions that I had on the bottom: when they contribute to the page, they're going to write their number, and then we're going to use that number in parentheses next to the information to be sort of like our citing. So for example, if I added a resource, my number was number 1, I would just put in parentheses in number 1 anytime that I added a little bit of information. And I'm going to have to remind the students that they have to make sure to save the work live right away so that other students can collaborate on that as well. And one way that I turned this into, okay, this is where we collaborate, but this is part of a bigger project, and this is something that you're actually going to get a grade for, is in the next page, they're going to submit a screenshot of their contribution to that page. I thought it would be interesting to add a self-reflection when they submitted the project, so I asked the question: after you submit, reflect on your work. What are you most proud of? What questions do you still have? And what kind of feedback do you expect to get? and then they can write that response in the chat, in the comment area with me. And to end the project, I just have a post-module self-check. And I thought that one way that I can kind of gauge how the module went was to give a quick green, yellow, or red light. How do you feel after the module is completed? Would you like additional support? They would answer either green, yellow, or red light, and then please explain if you answered with the red light. This is the opportunity that I would have then to provide additional resources to support a further learning if the students needed it in the module before they moved on to the next one.